Hi, this is part 2 of Patrick's Point State Park with a local. I live about 20 miles from here, so I get a chance to come here pretty often. Okay, in part 1, I spent most of the time covering sites and trails to go on based on how much time you have here. In today's show, I'm going to be delving a little bit more into the natural history of the Sitka spruce forests around here. And I'll be on the quest to find the elusive Pacific sideband snail. Let's head off into the forest and get on with this. One of the wonders of Patrick's Point State Park are the Sitka spruce forests. I'm standing in front of one right now. It has a scaly bark. They have small cones. Now, Sitka spruce only grow in a narrow geographic band along the coast. They seem to be able to tolerate that salt-laden air from the breaking waves better than some other large trees. And I'm going to go show you something really interesting about Sitka spruce in another part of the forest. I am standing in front of a giant root ball from a spruce tree that blew down in the wind. This is underneath the bottom of the roots. And the reason I brought you here is because in this forest, when new plants grow, there is a real fierce competition for light. And a lot of times spruce seeds that would have a really hard time rooting and sprouting in all the dense foliage underneath, the ferns and the huckleberries and everything else. So the spruce have a little trick. What they do is the seeds that fall on top of these root balls, and even sometimes on the log itself when it starts rotting, they root from there. And as they grow, they send their roots down around the root ball or the old rotting log, down into the soil. So they get an advantage over the other plants in doing so as they reach for the light in the sky. And what's really amazing, you can walk into this forest and find areas where you have these large old growth spruce trees. The old logs they rooted on are completely rotted away, but you can still see those sort of long roots they reach down. And some of the spruce actually have little cave type spaces underneath them. It's a wild life in the spruce forest. Wow. While I'm looking for the Pacific sideband snail, I'll tell you a little bit about it. It only lives in the Pacific Northwest, in cool, shady forests like this one. It eats mainly vegetative material, and it also eats fungi. Now, the reason it's so hard to find, it's hiding because everything in here wants to eat it. Raccoons, shrews, mice, even snakes. I found a Pacific sideband snail. Now this one appears to have entered into its winter hibernation, so I'm not going to disturb it, but I'll take some footage to show you. Okay, there's a number of unique aspects to this snail. First off, they breathe through lungs instead of gill slits like most other snails and slugs. But what really makes these snails wild is their sex life. Okay, first off, there's neither male nor female snails. That means each individual snail has the ability to make another snail pregnant or become pregnant itself. And when they lay eggs, they have these gel-like eggs they lay in the leaf litter, usually in the springtime. But what makes these snails especially wild is that when they find a potential partner, sometimes they will shoot out this little dart made out of calcium carbonate and cartilage material into the other snail. Zoologists call these love darts. And what's thought to have happened is when these love darts enter the other snail, that other snail will sort of lose its inhibitions, and then mating commences, and well, the story goes on from there. Now, what's really wild, sometimes these love darts will actually pierce the internal organs of the other snail, which can lead to its death. Talk about risky mating behavior. Before we go, I'm going to take one last look at this snail and oh man, it got me with some, you stupid snail, you beautiful snail. This is the most beautiful snail I've ever seen in my life. Oh, beautiful snail. And your shell. Oh, too bad you've already entered into winter hibernation, but oh, I will be back here in spring and I'll be looking for you. Well, that's it for today. I just hope today's show helps inspire you to get out there yourself and experience some of the beauty and the fun, and also maybe tap in a little bit of your own feeling of magical love for Humboldt outdoors.